Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. How's everyone doing on this Monday morning? I hope all is well with everyone. Monday's a hard day, and the weekend seems to go like really fast. And I just caught up finally on getting some rest because I've been working and working and working, you know. Besides my day job, I have, you know, work that I do like with my book and other work that I do online. So I've been really busy and I really needed to take a break and a well deserved break this weekend. But it seems to go quickly. Monday always is here before you know it. And, just getting through Monday or Monday blues or whatever you want to call it, because people seem to be in a bad mood on Monday morning. That's why I have my coffee before I do anything. Now it seems like my voice is getting a little rough. But anyway, I did get some rest. So, how's everyone doing? Are you guys still sharing the videos here? I surely hope you guys are still doing that. Subscribe to the channel as well and let other people know about this channel that we talk about all topics um, related to anxiety, trauma, grief, mainly grief and how to heal it, mainly because of grief due to loss of loved ones and how to heal it. But every topic that I talk about here is related to some sort of trauma and grief because grief doesn't necessarily have to be just about losing a loved one. It could be about trauma that happens, other situations of grief that cause us trauma, anxiety, and depression. So we talk about all those things here on this channel because some people can be going through grief and depression, but they're not telling anyone. They're not doing anything about it. They just are someplace grieving and going slowly into a deeper and deeper depression, and no one probably knows. And sometimes it can be fatal, and we don't ever want that. So, this is a channel, a no judgment zone here, where we talk about all things related to grief and pain. I mean, yeah, related to pain, anxiety, that all these things that are affiliated with grief, besides the loss of a loved one. And I want everyone to keep in mind, especially the new people who are here for the first time. I am not a licensed therapist of any sort. I don't have a degree in therapy. I do have one, but not in that category, not that area. But I am someone who survived a lot of grief and loss during the shutdown. Lost about 10 people, including my mother, my dog, and a really good friend, and some friends from church. And it's been difficult. And at one point, I didn't think I was going to make it. And then I talk a lot about God and lifting these things up because that is part of my healing. And that is what also brought me through all these trials and tribulations that I was in. It's important, people, no matter where you are, what state or wherever you are listening to this video, that you never stay in a place of stagnation and depression. It's important because being depressed, yes, allow yourself to feel that pain due to loss or whatever kind of pain it's associated with, because the pain causes grief and depression. So allow yourself to feel that, but don't stay in that place too long. I had to learn that, and everything I talk about on these videos, I'm talking about things that I've experienced and how I brought myself through it. So I'm just sharing this with others so that they don't feel so isolated and stagnated. And some people could be losing hope. And I don't want that. We don't want that. We want to let others know that they can be helped. That's important. They can get the help that they need. And please invite others to come to this channel so that they can hear the messages. The title and topic today is: in order to attract positive things to you, you must let go of the toxicity. And that's something that sometimes when we're going through grief and we're hurting real deep within our soul, anxiety, and trigger moments of grief, depression, all of those things balled up together in one. What happens is that sometimes there's like a cloud that's over us, and we don't see things that are going on around us that can affect us and add more grief to our life. And I had to do therapy and start the process with my therapist, and doing some homework, like, for example, the pros and cons of situations that were in my life that were toxic. My therapist never tells me to do this, do that. He would suggest that I do homework, and the homework would bring me to a decision. Like, for example, he'll have me do a pros and con list of every situation that caused me grief or uncomfortableness in my life. And, whether it was a particular situation or person, whatever it was. And then I would make a list of the pros, of the situation, all the good things, and then the cons, the not good things. And so what would happen in a lot of cases, the cons would outweigh the pros. And then I would go over that list with him. And then he would ask me, how long was this going on? And, what do I want to do in this situation to reduce my stress, grief, and toxicity? And I still, to this day, once a week, I see my therapist, which is so important because he's a grief therapist and he's been helping me tremendously, along with my prayers to God, going to church. I don't go all the time, but I go, you know, um, I go often. So the point is being close to God, being in prayer, asking Him to help me, because there was no way I was going to get through this without God. And this is why I always talk about this on this channel. So let's get into one of the things I want to say here. Um, when God created Adam and Eve, they were supposed to be a complement to one another, equal to one another, not Eve walking behind Adam and Adam saying to her, "You do what I tell you when I tell you to do it, and you be quiet and you don't ask no questions. You do what I tell you." That's the society we live in today. It's like, you do what I tell you, when I tell you to do it, you don't like it, too bad, sort of attitude. And a relationship of any sort, whether it's a heterosexual or not, it doesn't matter. No one should, it should be an equal situation. It should not be one person telling another person what they should do, browbeating them into submission. You do what I tell you to do. That's not an equal situation. A relationship is supposed to enhance your life. It's supposed to be a compliment. You compliment one another, an equal give and take, and I talk about this, and some people will say, "Oh, this is a no judgment zone. Keep that in mind." So I'm talking about all relationships, today in the world, because what happens is that, people get into their ego and they forget about how to sit down and discuss things and come to a compromise. And I talk about that a lot because, when people are acting impulsively and from their ego, nothing really gets effectively resolved. And this is why I use the example Adam and Eve. When God put them together, it wasn't for Adam, to browbeat Eve into submission. You do what I tell you. It was for them to complement one another, and get together and procreate, and be a blessing to one another. But the society and world that we live in today, this is so abusive, and then sometimes when you're going through grief and you're already in a state of depression and you're hurting, and then you have a situation of a relationship that's supposed to enhance your life and build you up, but you're feeling like you're being oppressed, and it adds to your situation of grief and depression. And this is why I'm talking about this topic today because all these topics I talk about are related to grief because it causes grief, it causes pain, it causes all types of toxicity in your life. And as you're going through grief, grief takes a hold on your mental and physical health. It takes a real big chunk out of your mental and physical health. It's a burden to it when you are going through extreme grief and pain due to loss and these other situations that I'm talking about, because all these things add to grief and pain. So I'm talking about these things because I myself went through some of these things while I was grieving. And I'm here to share, not to tell people do this, do that, but to share my experiences. Because someone somewhere who's listening to these videos need to hear these messages. They need to know that there's hope. They can be uplifted. And the things that I went through, I couldn't see clearly because I was walking through this fog because of all of the losses and all of the depression I was feeling and pain and, losing my dog as well. And just going through loss after loss after loss. And then having people around me in my life, that were not there to be supportive, to uplift me, to be there. They were there creating more toxic situations in my life. And I couldn't see that at first. And as I started to do therapy with my therapist and the homework, and I started to realize why I was staying stagnated, why it was taking me longer to heal, because it's hard to heal when you have toxicity all around you. And I had to learn. It took a long time, but I've learned. And still, I'm still healing. But I had to learn how to let go of toxicity, toxic situations in my life, and it was difficult. And one long-term relationship that I had let go of a while back, and sometimes people leave your life and then they temporarily come back into it for whatever reason. I guess it's a test to see what we're going to do. And this ex-partner had said to me, when they realized that I wasn't returning and I wasn't going to be in their life anymore, because once you heal something, it's dead, it's gone. Not that it's physically dead, but you have no desire to reconcile those things because you healed them. And that's what was going on here. And this person wanted to reconcile, and I wasn't interested. I have no interest in it. I've healed that, the hurt from that, and etc. And so this ex-partner got angry and said, if I can't have you, nobody else will. You'll never have another relationship. That they were going to make sure of it. And they were like belligerent with it and on their ego with it. Back then, I didn't know how to release those things. Like these are things that are beyond our control, because we can't help what other people feel and what they're doing in the background, right? So what I did learn to do is to transmute this toxicity. And one of the things that I want to talk about, talk to you guys about, to those who are going through similar things. What I do is transmute that. And one of the ways I do is say, God, in the name of Jesus, this is heavy and it's beyond my control and I can't handle this. So I'm lifting this up to you. I'm giving this to you in the name of Jesus. That's what I do. I'm giving this burden to you because it's too much for me. Because in a natural, I can't do anything about this situation. I know I don't want this ex-partner or situation at all. But I don't want the, how do you say it? I don't want someone, I don't want this to linger on. I want this, to be finished with. And then I give it to God, because once you take something that's burdensome and that's difficult and you have no control over it, you give it to God, because once you give it to him, you're passing that situation that's burdening you to him. And once you give it to him, that individual is no longer fighting against you. They fighting against God now. I'm telling you, this is the way to transmute this toxicity, when it's especially something where somebody don't want to let go, they want to hold on to dear life, and you've already healed from this. You've already let this individual go because the toxicity of it. You've healed, you learned. That's how you transmute that. You give it to God and you say to him, and be genuine about what you're feeling, and how it's affecting you. Once you give it to him, they no longer fighting against you. That toxicity goes to God and he's going to handle it. You better believe it. And I'm talking from experience. I'm not just here just on a channel talking. I'm talking from experience, because that's what I do now. I give it to him and that's it. And he handles it, and the way that God comes through, it's a done deal. It's a wrap. I'm telling you, I've seen example after example of how he removed these things from my life, as I healed them. Because once you heal one situation, you go to the next to heal that, and I'm not reconciling with something that caused me pain and that I've healed. It's time to move on, and it's not easy. You have to stick with it. you know all these things that I talk about here, it's still, healing is an ongoing battle, because we have our days where we feel really good and we're up and we're everything, and then another day we may not even be able to get out of bed due to the depression or grief or whatever. Every day of my life I miss my mother, every single day. And especially now, since I'm putting into practice everything that she's been telling me for years that I just was ignoring. And everything she said is working to my benefit. And I thank God. But I put God into everything that I do. Like I said, the hard stuff that I can't control, I have no control over it, and it's nothing I can do. I hand those things over to God, because God, if God is a miracle worker, and that's how I do. And I continue my therapy with my therapist, because that's important, because it helped to keep me grounded, because the homework and the things that he give me to do help me to think from a different perspective, outside the box about a situation. But sometimes, I can be emotional about things because of, do it back then mostly. Um, but he helps me to think about things. What do you want to do? He never tells me what I should do. What do you want to do? We do homework, and the homework helps me to see things from a different perspective. It's just like having a pie. Like, for example, I'm going to use this as a metaphor. I like cherry pie, right? Let's say I have a big thing of cherry pie in front of me. Now, there's other people here. I can't have the whole pie, you know? The other people, let's say it's 4 other people, they have to have a slice of the pie. It's like relationships or whatever you do in life. You can't have it all, but everyone can come to a compromise, like relationships that are supposed to complement our life, and you have to compromise. Everybody gets a slice of that pie, meaning that looking at things from a different perspective, like when you sit down and discuss things with people, what is of top priority to you out of all these things that you want? What is the top priority? And then you take that top priority, and that person can get that, and then another person, and so forth, and etc. Everybody can't have everything, from that. Can't have the whole pie. You can have a piece of it. And that's the way, when dealing with people and situations and relationship, coming to a compromise, and I used to be in these toxic situations where it was like what I just used as a metaphor with Adam and Eve. You do what I tell you. And if I tell you to do it, this is how it has to be. And I had to learn that I didn't have to put up with that. I didn't have to put up with that at all, But I was subservient to everything and trying to twist myself into a pretzel to please somebody else that was not giving me an equal give and take. They were just throwing breadcrumbs, you know, and I deserve more. When you start to heal those things in your life and the pain and the grief from that, you start to self love on yourself and realize that you are worth it. You don't have to put up with that. And you don't have to put up with someone who's extremely toxic and bringing more toxicity and pain to your life. A relationship is supposed to enhance your life, not bring hell to it. And I had to learn that, and I had to look at things from a different perspective. You know, I want to stay on this path to healing. So, in order to do so, I had to remove toxic situations and individuals from my life. And there was no compromise because I would try to sit and talk and let's compromise, do this. Look, this is hurting me when you do this, and etc. And they didn't want to heal. They didn't want to do the work. They didn't want to come to a compromise. So I had no other choice but to let it go. And, you know, and sometimes people don't want to let go. They want to hold on tight for dear life because, you know, when you're subservient and generous and giving, and they don't want to let that go. But for me, I had to learn who's worth giving my time to, who's worth being generous with. You know, if it's not an equal give and take, and I'm doing everything and giving, they're not doing anything but throwing a piece of breadcrumb here and there from time to time, it's not worth my time. Because on the path of healing, I have to learn how to I had to learn how to let go of toxicity. And no, it's not easy. If I sit here and tell you that, it's not true. It's something that I had to do, like riding a bike. You get on, you fall a few times, get back on, you may fall a few more times, but then eventually you start to ride, you know, and I had to do that. And 3 years later, you know, I'm not in that place. I can tell people how I feel. I don't have to act out of character. I don't have to, you know, be mean about it. Just sit and talk and have that conversation. And if they're not willing to come to a compromise, then I have to say goodbye, whether it's a personal relationship or friendship or business, whatever it is. Because if it's not an equal give and take and it's more toxicity than anything else, then I have to let it go. Because when you're on a path to healing, you're serious about healing, you can't continue on and on and on with toxicity. Toxicity. I know I can't. You know, the less of it, the better it is for my healing, for my physical and mental health. Remember, people, your mental health is everything. Because if that's messed up, you can't take care of yourself or anybody or anything else. So it's important to continue to work on ourselves. Even if you do one thing a day for yourself, pat yourself on the back, look in the mirror and tell yourself, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what problems and trials and tribulation, I am worth it, because you are worth it. You know, learn how to self-love on yourself little by little by nurturing your inner child, you know, things that comfort you and make you feel good, you know, like a bubble bath, taking your pet for a walk, you know, reading a particular novel or watching positive, uplifting videos. You know, do whatever it takes. And for me, mostly music, because music soothes my soul. You know, do these little things. And as you start out little by little, you start to feel better. It may take some time, but it will happen. And as you start to feel better, people, you start to do better. And then as you do better, you know, one day you can be on a platform talking about your experiences and how you became an overcomer, you know, and you can help somebody else, and you know how to help them because you've already gone through what they are currently going through. So that's the message today. I have learned to turn pain into power, power into a purpose, and purpose into moving it and paying it forward to help other people who are going through grief and need to heal that grief, and who are dealing with toxicity and learning ways to minimize that in their life, if not get rid of it completely. Well, that's the message today. Please share these videos because people need to hear the message, and subscribe to the channel so that you know when I'm here, so that you can get on. And if you have anything that you want me to talk about, talk to me in a comment category or send me an email, lisavon410@gmail.com. Thank you all for being here. I will be back tomorrow with a new message. Take care of yourself. Take care of you first. Take care of your mental and physical health. That means everything. Thank you again for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day. Bye for now.